What's up, cool people? Welcome to tonight's live stream. My name is Matt, aka That Random Christian Gamer. So, for tonight, we will be continuing our journey through the Bible. We're currently going through 2nd Chronicles. Tonight, we're going to look at chapters 23 and 24, which, unsurprisingly, if you saw or read the previous chapters, involves more changes of kings in Judah. Real quick, hi Seth. Yes, after Bible study, I will be playing Gems of War for a bit, leaving things open for a discussion about the Bible study or really pretty much whatever. Although I will confess I may shorten things a bit tonight, just because, I don't know, honestly, I'm tired. I don't know if there's really any other way to describe it. I guess it's in part just because of the way work has been lately, and, like, not that it's super stressing me out a lot, but there's a whole lot of just, like, I don't know, confusion. There's a lot of just question marks, and it's got people just kind of doing things all over the place, which makes things a bit chaotic and mentally tiring. And honestly, sometimes feeling physically tired just follows from that. But we'll see how I feel after the Bible study and or after doing some Gems of War, but I don't think I'll have it be any less than like an hour still of like gaming / discussion time after the Bible study. But let me not delay what's going on. Event this time, there was like a journey event thing in the guild page of Gems of War, but I've already done most of the battles for the week with that. Yeah, okay, well then maybe while we roll for exercise, I could just get that out of the way before the ads kick in and not run them myself. One moment while I get my dice. And of course the, good old Stormtrooper dice tower to go with it. Okay. So, here we go. Pulling up my lists of exercises so I know what's going on here as I roll. Okay. First exercise will be planking. Okay. Let's see roughly how long. Okay, that's another 5, so we'll say 50 seconds of that. I don't think I need to roll any more for that exercise, so let's see what the second one is. Push-ups. Okay. 2 things that kind of work arms. Okay. So that's a 6. We'll see how that goes. Well, I'm not going to call it a minimum of 1 set, because that's just obvious. Okay. That was a 3 for the last roll, so minimum attempt of 18. Okay. Setting that stuff to the side now. And ads should be rolling fairly soon here. I will pin the exercise comment and go ahead and switch things over to the Bible study window view thing. Okay. I'm like, any second now. Ads should be starting on Twitch. But, oh well. So, yeah, it shouldn't really be too surprising that we're picking things up in the Bible study, talking about, you know, the same ruler that we ended with last week. Okay, real quick. Okay, now, geez, took all that time for the ad break to finally kick in. It seems to me that it takes longer to do that when I don't initiate it myself. Maybe that's just me. So yeah, by the way, for anyone who's watching this live on YouTube in particular, I do have a playlist of, you know, individual chapter Bible study videos. It's a long playlist at this point, though. There's a couple of the videos in it that aren't just this, that aren't just the chapter by chapter going through the Bible stuff. But most of them are. And it is getting close to 400 videos in the playlist, I think. Which, yeah, there's actually a lot of chapters in the Bible. So I'm nowhere near done with it. But yeah, if you missed anything and want to catch up, there's that kind of stuff. Just letting you know. Okay. Twitch ads should be done now. So yeah, time to get rolling with the Bible study. Alrighty. We're looking at 2 Chronicles chapter 23. So this is focusing on Judah just because this is like a recap meant originally for the exiles that, you know, had lived in Judah before, and it's honestly part of an effort to try and get them to go back, build or rebuild the temple, and otherwise just kind of dedicate themselves to God. And the past couple of chapters, there's been a few changes at King of Judah, you know, within the recap. And things took a pretty steep downturn, especially in terms of, you know, kings who worshipped God or not, and, you know, encouraged the people to do so, whichever they were doing. As things currently stand, there is actually a queen of Judah. She kind of pretty much made a bid for power after her son died. He was the king, but then, like, he didn't really have any other living relatives besides his mother, the current queen, who were seemingly in a position to rule. He did have one very young son who survived, but he's been kind of sheltered away in the temple, I think, actually. Essentially living with the priests. But in the meantime, we have this situation. And yeah, so we'll pick things up here in chapter 23 and see what happens. In the 7th year of Athaliah's reign, Jehoiada the priest decided to act. He summoned his courage and made a pact with 5 army commanders. Azariah, son of Jeroham. Sorry, I read that wrong for a sec. Ishmael, son of Jehohanan. Azariah, son of Obed. Maaseiah, son of Adiah. And Elishaphat, son of Zikri. Or Zikri, either way. These men traveled secretly throughout Judah and summoned the Levites and clan leaders in all the towns to come to Jerusalem. They gathered at the temple of God, where they made a solemn pact with Joash, the young king. Jehoiada said to them, "Here is the king's son. The time has come for him to reign. The Lord has promised that a descendant of David will be our king. This is what you must do. When you priests and Levites come on duty on the Sabbath, a third of you will serve as gatekeepers. Another third will go over to the royal palace, and the final third will be at the foundation gate. Everyone else should stay in the courtyards of the Lord's temple. Remember, only the priests and Levites on duty may enter the temple of the Lord, for they are set apart as holy. The rest of the people must obey the Lord's instructions and stay outside. You Levites, form a bodyguard around the king and keep your weapons in hand. Kill anyone who tries to enter the temple, and stay with the king wherever he goes." Okay, pausing there for a bit. So, Jehoiada, the priest, has had enough of the queen. Now, perhaps justifiably so, because she herself kind of went on a rampage, you might say. Let me go back to the previous chapter for a second, because it mentions, it just says she began to destroy the rest of Judah's royal family, but still, like, she clearly was seeking to gain and maintain power, and or just didn't want anyone from, like, the Judah side of the family, we'll say, to stay alive, and possibly, I don't know if that was necessarily the motivation, but, you know, she had actually been, I think, more so connected, at least, with the side of the family that was from the other tribes of Israel. For those who don't know, I think it was after Jehoshaphat. Yeah, Jehoshaphat had one of his sons marry one of the daughters of King Ahab of the other tribes. And so that was where a bunch of the influence of, you know, not worshiping God came from. Because at that point, pretty much after Judah and the other tribes split, the other tribes didn't really follow God anymore from that point forward. So, influence from the other tribes who didn't follow God pretty much made its way to a very high position in Judah because of that marriage, and the following couple of kings were ones born under that influence. And so, in any case, the current queen just wasn't doing things in a way that God would have liked. So of course the priest is not fond of that and wants to change that. Now it's in the 7th year of her reign, so it's been 6 to 7 years where this boy Joash was essentially hidden away, pretty much living with the priests. So him being under their influence, of course, they could shape things more easily toward people following God and getting that, back to the forefront of Judah. So, yeah, he gathers priests and Levites and basically says that, some of them are going to serve as bodyguards for the boy, and with the assumption, I guess, and you can read back in 2 Kings, but they're pretty much planning to put him on the throne, like literally, physically, pretty much put him on the throne, crown him king, and stop anybody who would try to get in their way. So, that's kind of the idea. Let's continue in verse 8. So the Levites and all the people of Judah did everything as Jehoiada the priest ordered. The commanders took charge of the men reporting for duty that Sabbath, as well as those who were going off duty. Jehoiada the priest did not let anyone go home after their shift ended. Then Jehoiada supplied the commanders with the spears and the large and small shields that had once belonged to King David and were stored in the temple of God. He stationed all the people around the king with their weapons ready. They formed a line from the south side of the temple around to the north side and all around the altar. Then Jehoiada and his sons brought out Joash, the king's son, placed the crown on his head, and presented him with a copy of God's laws. They anointed him and proclaimed him king, and everyone shouted, "Long live the king!" So, at least for a while, it was common practice for the priests to anoint whoever was going to be king. I mean, that even probably goes all the way back to the first king of the combined kingdom of Israel, who was Saul. Samuel had anointed him king and anointed David king after him, and so at least in Judah, it seems like it was still pretty much the priests who declared who was king, in essence. So, them being ready to stop anyone who would interfere was probably, I'm guessing Jehoiada thought, well, if Athaliah and anyone under her command, but not loyal to us, catches wind of this, they might try and stop what we're doing. So let's be prepared. So yeah, they pretty much escort Joash as planned to the throne, crown him king, anoint him, and by the way, the reason they keep referring to him as the king's son is because he was the son of the previous king who was ruling before Athaliah. So, really, she was probably the grandmother of Joash. But because of her previous, effort to just wipe out the rest of the royal family, Joash would have been included in that, but someone else, possibly the sister of the previous king, which I guess would make her like his aunt or something. Whoever it was, that's kind of up in the air relationally, but she kind of hid him away in the temple, thus leading to all this stuff, and him still being alive even, and the priest being able to then declare him the next king. And it mentions in verse 11 that they presented him with a copy of God's laws, or the covenant, which just further emphasizes their commitment to, raise him as someone who would worship and follow God. And even, hopefully, have him rule that way. Okay. I feel like I've been talking a lot relative to the number of verses we've made it through. So let's continue with verse 12. When Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and the shouts of praise to the king, she hurried to the Lord's temple to see what was happening. When she arrived, she saw the newly crowned king standing in his place of authority by the pillar at the temple entrance. The commanders and trumpeters were surrounding him, and people from all over the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Singers with musical instruments were leading the people in a great celebration. When Athaliah saw this, she tore her clothes in despair and shouted, "Treason! Treason!" Then Jehoiada the priest ordered the commanders who were in charge of the troops, "Take her to the soldiers in front of the temple and kill anyone who tries to rescue her." For the priest had said, "She must not be killed in the temple of the Lord." So they seized her and led her out to the entrance of the horse gate on the palace grounds, and they killed her there. Realistically, one could kind of argue that what they were committing was an act of treason, certainly against her as, the ruler of Judah at the time. But, I don't think their intentions were bad. In fact, Jehoiada had probably seen and knew how bad she was, especially how she was, not following the Lord, not worshiping God. So, is committing treason against a bad ruler really a bad thing? I would argue not so much. So, Joash is king now. Athaliah is dead. But they didn't, so she came to the temple area and saw that they had declared Joash king, and her shouting treason was probably also a way of her trying to tell anyone loyal to her that, those who just made Joash king were committing treason and thus should probably be killed by that rule. So killing her might have also been an effort to silence her in that moment. Could have also been sort of a revenge thing. There's multiple different reasons why they might have killed her. Or why they did kill her. multiple potential reasons why they killed her. But doing it in the temple would have been kind of bad. So they took her outside the temple as to not shed her blood within the temple. That would, for sure, at the very least, like, make the temple unclean, and then they would have to purify it and all sorts of things like that. Now this note in verse 14 could be read as, bring her out from between the ranks, or take her out of the temple precincts. Meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain, but I think it's still the same general intent, like, okay, we need to take her outside the temple before killing her, because killing her in the temple would be a bad thing. It would defile the temple, and of course the priests don't want to do that. Okay, so, verse 16. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between himself and the king and the people, that they would be the Lord's people. And all the people went over to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They demolished the altars and smashed the idols, and they killed Mattan, the priest of Baal, in front of the altars. Jehoiada now put the priests and Levites in charge of the temple of the Lord, following all the directions given by David. He also commanded them to present burnt offerings to the Lord, as prescribed by the law of Moses, and to sing and rejoice, as David had instructed. He also stationed gatekeepers at the gates of the Lord's temple, to keep out those who for any reason were ceremonially unclean. Then the commanders, nobles, rulers, and all the people of the land escorted the king from the temple of the Lord. They went through the upper gate and into the palace, and they seated the king on the royal throne. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was peaceful because Athaliah had been killed. That implies that it was not peaceful while she was alive. And of course it wasn't. She was, at the very least, attempting to kill off the rest of the royal family. That's not peaceful. So, yeah, all this stuff previously had happened at the temple. Now, they're actually moving Joash to the palace and giving him, the throne physically. So, I guess with the anointing and the dedication ceremony and things like that going on, that would have still normally happened at the temple, though. Also, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of implied in here that isn't outright said. Like the fact that they tore down an altar to, and even a temple to Baal, means that was built before. And the fact that he then put the priests and Levites in charge of the temple of the Lord means that they were not in charge, at least for a while. Probably, during the reign of a couple of the kings after Jehoshaphat, the ones who didn't worship God. It might have even outright mentioned that. I forget if that's the case for sure, but it definitely seems to be implied that other people were put in charge of that temple, and definitely would have been put in charge of any other temples or anything like that would have been built to other gods. But yeah, so the sharp downturn that I mentioned at the top of this chapter seems to be on the way back up. certainly in terms of following God's commands and just worshiping God and like people being loyal and dedicated to God. So yeah, that's kind of sorry. So that's kind of how we leave things off at the end of 2 Chronicles 23. But we have another chapter that we will be looking at this evening. Potentially a slightly longer chapter, but not that much. Anyway, getting a little bit of water before I move on. All right, so now we're looking at 2 Chronicles 24. Last chapter, the priests and Levites pretty much, you could argue they sort of staged a coup. They definitely took control of the temple and the throne and pretty much established a young king because the queen, who had been ruling for about 7 years, was not following God, was on a rampage, killing off anybody else from the royal family. So, yeah, they decided to put a stop to everything she was doing. Instated a new king, even though he was young. And, I mean, that was really kind of a way of them taking control. But just because they sort of, I'm going to air quote, had to have a king, especially in order to displace the previous ruler, they kind of decided, all right, this young boy is the son of the previous king. We're going to say he's king now. So, with that, things went from where people were not worshiping God for a while because at least 3 rulers prior to them taking control had not followed God themselves and even made altars, temples, and things like that to worship other gods. But now it's going back to where people are, dedicating themselves to God again. I mean, some of the individual people might have worshipped God the whole time, but now it's like kind of the official position of the kingdom again. Official stance, you might say. So, that's kind of the situation as we head into this chapter. So here we go, 2 Chronicles 24. Joash was 7 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 40 years. His mother was Zibiah from Beersheba. Joash did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight throughout the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada chose 2 wives for Joash, and he had sons and daughters. At one point, Joash decided to repair and restore the temple of the Lord. He summoned the priests and Levites and gave them these instructions. Go to all the towns of Judah and collect the required annual offerings, so that we can repair the temple of your God. Do not delay. But the Levites did not act immediately. So the king called for Jehoiada the high priest and asked him, "Why haven't you demanded that the Levites go out and collect the temple taxes from the towns of Judah and from Jerusalem?" Moses, the servant of the Lord, levied this tax on the community of Israel in order to maintain the tabernacle of the covenant. Gonna pause there. I don't necessarily recall there being a mention of a tax But, like, definitely tithes from, you know, what the people had was a tax of a sort, so maybe it just wasn't worded that way. So, it says here, Joash reigned for 40 years, so definitely a long time as king, but it does specify that he did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight throughout the lifetime of Jehoiada, implying that maybe he doesn't afterwards. But we'll get there when we get there. I'm not going to jump too far ahead. So then Joash wants to repair the temple that had been damaged probably from internal conflict, or definitely had been damaged from like other kingdoms attacking. I forget who all it mentioned that had done said attacking, but I think there was a few chapters ago it mentioned a group of Arabs and some other nearby kingdom who pretty much like ransacked the temple, took a bunch of the, you know, valuable things from there, and probably the palace too. So, yeah, that there certainly might have been some physical damage to the structure in the meantime, because I doubt, you know, the armies of Judah were just going to sit by and quietly wait for that to happen. So, whether it was to, you know, repair the actual structure of the temple, or even just to, like, replace some of the sacred objects, or, like, you know, something of that sort, either way, Joash wants to fix it. Asks the Levites and the priests to go gather a tax to have the money to pay for the repairs, but then they don't do it. They don't gather this tax, and he's like, then he goes to Jehoiada and is like, what's going on here? I asked you all to go collect this tax and start fixing the temple. Moses even did this to maintain the tabernacle back in his time. So this is clearly not like the wrong thing to do if Moses did it way back when. There is a note there when it mentions okay, instead of tabernacle of the covenant, it could be read as the tent of the testimony. I mean, it's still a similar idea, though. The tabernacle was a tent. Might have been a very big one, but it was a tent nonetheless. And I think it had even previously stated way back in, like, Exodus and such, that testimony and covenant were kind of interchangeable, especially when referring to, like, the Ten Commandments and the physical representation of the covenant. Might have even used that wording when referring to what we call the Ark of the Covenant. Might have said Ark of the Testimony in some cases. Or at least it could be translated either way, potentially. In any case. So, after Joash kind of questions Jehoiada on this, we move on to verse 7. Over the years, the followers of wicked Athaliah had broken into the temple of God, and they had used all the dedicated things from the temple of the Lord to worship the images of Baal. So now the king ordered a chest to be made and set outside the gate leading to the temple of the Lord. Then a proclamation was sent throughout Judah and Jerusalem, telling the people to bring to the Lord the tax that Moses, the servant of God, had required of the Israelites in the wilderness. This pleased all the leaders and the people, and they gladly brought their money and filled the chest with it. Whenever the chest became full, the Levites would carry it to the king's officials. Then the court secretary and an officer of the high priest would come and empty the chest and take it back to the temple again. This went on day after day, and a large amount of money was collected. The king and Jehoiada gave the money to the construction supervisors, who hired masons and carpenters to restore the temple of the Lord. They also hired metal workers, who made articles of iron and bronze for the Lord's temple. Alright, so now they're collecting this tax that Joash had mentioned. And it seems like the people were okay with it. So I guess the difference right now is, like, Joash kind of declared it more broadly to the rest of the people, rather than putting the burden solely on the priests and Levites to go and collect the tax. And I think the way it was worded in 2 Kings just made it sound all the more like the Levites were just too lazy to actually do what they were asked to do in this situation. And so because of their laziness and lack of follow through, they at least recognized that, but also, like, they sort of agreed to not put the labor and such on themselves, or even, like, the money handling, but they kind of passed that along to others. So in a sense, they were still being a little bit lazy about it, but at least they acknowledged that and, like, delegated what otherwise would have been their responsibility to other people so that it could actually get done. So yeah, they hired people for construction. Sorry. So they hired people for construction to fix what needed to be fixed in that way. They also hired metal workers to remake/replace some of the, articles, the tools, the things like that inside the temple. I don't really have too many other thoughts on that section, so I'll continue with verse 13. The men in charge of the renovation worked hard and made steady progress. They restored the temple of God according to its original design and strengthened it. When all the repairs were finished, they brought the remaining money to the king and Jehoiada. It was used to make various articles for the temple of the Lord. Articles for worship services and for burnt offerings, including ladles and other articles made of gold and silver. And the burnt offerings were sacrificed continually in the temple of the Lord during the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada lived to a very old age, finally dying at 130. He was buried among the kings in the city of David because he had done so much good in Israel for God and his temple. That was quite the honor, having a priest buried with the kings. There was even a former king who didn't get that honor because he was so bad in the people's eyes that he didn't deserve that. So, like, clearly only top tier people got this honor. And Jehoiada was the one to receive that. I mean, we have yet to see about the end of Joash's time as king and whether or not he gets buried there. But, yeah, he was definitely the main thrust of turning things back around and turning the people back to God. So, yeah. Temple is fixed, and it even says that it was strengthened. And strengthened it. I imagine that means they might have, like, physically reinforced some of the walls and things like that. Yeah. Told you I was tired. But, yeah, so that brings us to the end of Jehoiada's life. Not necessarily of Joash's, though. And given what it said earlier, and how it specified that Joash did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight while Jehoiada was alive, we will have to see how things go. On to verse 17. But after Jehoiada's death, the leaders of Judah came and bowed before King Joash and persuaded him to listen to their advice. They decided to abandon the temple of the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and they worshipped Asherah poles and idols instead. Because of this sin, divine anger fell on Judah and Jerusalem. Yet the Lord sent prophets to bring them back to him. The prophets warned them, but still the people would not listen. Then the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, son of Jehoiada the priest. He stood before the people and said, "This is what God says. Why do you disobey the Lord's commands and keep yourselves from prospering? You have abandoned the Lord, and now he has abandoned you." Then the leaders plotted to kill Zechariah, and King Joash ordered that they stone him to death in the courtyard of the Lord's temple. That was how King Joash repaid Jehoiada for his loyalty, by killing his son. Zechariah's last words as he died were, "May the Lord see what they are doing and avenge my death." Okay, so just like that, after Jehoiada dies, we're back to turning away from God. Or the people of Judah were back to turning away from God. It kind of, from this kind of, view from the future, in hindsight, kind of perspective, like, it seems real obvious that, like, things went well when they worshipped the Lord. Things went poorly when they did not. So why did they not continue worshiping the Lord? It's, like, even kind of echoed in Zechariah's words here, or God's words through Zechariah, when he says, "Why do you disobey the Lord's commands and keep yourselves from prospering?" It's like it should have been obvious to them that the times they prospered were the times that they worshipped the Lord. But no. People are dumb. Sometimes. So, instead of recognizing their own wrong, when Zechariah says this, the other leaders double down and are like, "Well, we don't like what this guy says. Let's kill him." And Joash goes along with it. Probably because he was perhaps raised by some of these men, they even more likely had an influence on things, early in his time as king. They really probably kind of even ran the show, so to speak, for a while as he grew up. So he might have just been in a habit of listening to whatever they said and going along with it. But that doesn't give him an excuse. He should have known better. He was presented with a copy of the law, of the covenant, from a young age. So, yeah, back to things being bad. Verse 23. In the spring of the year, the Aramean army marched against Joash. They invaded Judah and Jerusalem and killed all the leaders of the nation. Then they sent all the plunder back to their king in Damascus. Although the Arameans attacked with only a small army, the Lord helped them conquer the much larger army of Judah. The people of Judah had abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors, so judgment was carried out against Judah. The Arameans withdrew, leaving Joash severely wounded, but his own officials plotted to kill him for murdering the son of Jehoiada the priest. They assassinated him as he lay in bed. Then he was buried in the city of David, but not in the royal cemetery. The assassins were Josachar, son of an Ammonite woman named Shimeath, and Jehozabad, the son of a Moabite woman named Shomer. The account of the sons of Joash, the prophecies about him, and the record of his restoration of the temple of God are written in the commentary on the Book of the Kings. His son Amaziah became the next king. See, now, also, this commentary on the Book of the Kings probably is not, like, the Book of the Kings that we would read in the Bible. That was probably the Book of the Kings itself. Or books, plural, as we kind of have it in a modern-day Bible. I don't know for sure if that's actually the same book, but this commentary definitely was not that. But speaking of 1st and 2nd Kings, back in that account, it definitely didn't make Joash seem like such a bad king, even after Jehoiada died. But here it's like, nah, that after that, Joash wasn't good. And that's further emphasized by, other officials plotting to kill him because of murdering Jehoiada's son. So clearly, not all of the officials had agreed with that idea when it was carried out. Killing Zechariah, who was Jehoiada's son. So Joash ends up dying. He was already weak from being wounded in battle, it seems. Although it says they assassinated him as he lay in bed. Possibly recovering, or attempting to recover from his wounds. So, but the overall view of Joash after Jehoiada's death is further emphasized by the fact that he was not buried in the royal cemetery. Jehoiada himself received that honor. Joash did not. So, yeah. Like I said, that tells you about the overall view of Joash as a king. Okay, we got a few notes to look at here, like in verse 25, where it's talking about, murdering Jehoiada's son. That comes from the Greek version in Latin Vulgate. Hebrew reads sons, plural, which is even worse then. But only the one son was specifically mentioned in this chapter. It's certainly not... It's certainly possible still that other sons of Jehoiada were murdered too. But we only know of the one for sure, based on previous verses. Note there, Josachar comes from, or as in the parallel text, it's 2 Kings 12:21. Hebrew here in this verse reads Zabad. That seems like a very different name to me. Well, maybe not very different, but because like there's still the Z in there and anyway. This might be one of those situations where this guy could have actually sort of had both names depending on the timing, because different people throughout the Bible wound up being sort of renamed due to certain circumstances or events that they were involved with. Note down there about Jehozabad, or maybe not so much about Jehozabad as Shomer, his Moabite mother. But Shomer is paralleled in 2 Kings 12. Hebrew here reads Shimrith, which is considered a variant spelling. Okay, so different vowels and stuff there. But that one definitely seems a little more similar in a way than Josachar and Zabad. Because like you got the SH and the M and the R and but anyway. Okay, so now Joash is dead, and it's probably not going to be until the next chapter before we see what happens after. Although it does mention his son Amaziah becoming the next king. Given how things were at various times in Joash's life, Amaziah could sort of go either way in terms of loyalty to God. We'll just have to wait until next time to find out. Or you can go ahead and read it yourself in your own time, if you don't already know. Okay. So that wraps up the planned Bible study portion of things. Twitch ads are going to kick in fairly soon, even if I don't initiate them. I will probably just go ahead and start them myself while I maybe get myself set up, A, for gaming things, and B, for one of the two exercises. So, Twitch folks, I will see y'all in a little bit. Okay. Really, especially since I'm doing both planking and push-ups as exercises today. Although, I'm like, I don't know if push-ups will really be affected so much by the, mat. I'll just call it a yoga mat, even though I don't use it for yoga. I doubt having this out will affect the push-ups quite as much because I tend to have sort of a wide push-up stance. Alright, seems like that's positioned pretty well for the camera view. Okay. Okay. Let me get my arms moving a little bit. I do think I'll do the push-ups first. Kind of get that out of the way, so to speak. Then I don't have the excuse of having done the planks before. Just say, yeah, my arms were a little more tired. Okay. Okay. Push-ups, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. Yep, definitely not getting another 6 in. Ugh, man. That did not feel great on my wrists right there, although that might just be, because of wrists not feeling great from other things today. The wire cutting that I do at my job kinda, especially this wrist, it tends to I don't know if strain is quite the right word, but it tends to tire this wrist, because this is the one that's catching the wire as it's being cut and holds it in place as I'm bundling it up. So, yeah. That's kind of why that's the case. Okay. Stream category has been changed on Twitch. YouTube kind of lets me change it, but also, I just keep it as is. Unpin. I always get a little bit mixed up with that. Okay. New exercise message pinned. Okay. And we will get rolling with game time here. And at this point, or from this point forward in the stream, feel free to discuss whatever comes to your mind, I guess. This Underspire is definitely available with plenty of battles to do. Just to give you a look at other things that are technically available, but this class trial, I already have the class maxed out, so it doesn't really make any sense for me to do that. The guild event this week is one of these journey things where I pick a path, air quote, and travel a number of miles based on which path I pick, and that kind of stuff, but it's one of those things where you're kind of locked in, especially on at least one troop for the team that you use. So, Underspire is probably the way to go. Now, I always, like, early on in the week, will do the first room just to get to here, so I can get the lantern thing. Because the lanterns can, you know, you can keep those from week to week, and those will double rewards from a given room whenever they're used. So, yeah. That's why I try and make sure that I get those each week at the very least. Okay. So the restriction for the Underspire this week is using troops from the Wild Plains Kingdom. Here's the team that I put together to start things off, using my hero character and otherwise all mythic troops that would absolutely tear through any of these early battles in just like a couple of moves. Couple of spells, I should say. And I suppose attacks as well. Like this guy. 45 splash damage boosted by attack, life, and armor. So it's actually plus 216, so it's like 261 splash damage. Against troops that have, like, not even 20 combined health and armor. Now, that wasn't even the quickest way to end this, because I've got this troop right here. For the earlier battles, this guy is even more effective, because 32 damage to all enemies boosted by attack, life, and armor. The boost ratio isn't as high, though, so it's not going to deal as much damage. And then King Stormguard here deals damage specifically to the first two enemies, boosted by attack, life, and armor. But also explodes lightning gems, so, like, helps with mana generation. Okay. No branches in the path so far. Of course, that tends to be the case for the first couple of rooms, at least. So, while work is on my mind, I will say, like, things have been a little bit, I mean, to be blunt, frustrating, just with how much that we're unable to do, mostly due to lacking certain parts. So that's a little bit frustrating that people, like, can't do the work that they're supposed to do through no fault of their own. So you got some people who will go around and try to do other things. Others will just kind of keep approaching me from time to time and be like, hey, do we have this part yet? As if I'm the one with the keeper of all that knowledge. I mean, granted, before, like, a month or two ago, when we got a material supervisor officially, it's like, I definitely was up pretty high on the relative chain of knowledge on that kind of stuff. Because, like, I was one of the few people who would actually deal with most of that. Like, I wouldn't necessarily order the parts myself, but I'd be pretty much the only person who would communicate to anyone outside of there that would order the parts. Okay, 2 in this case would lead us down. Because, you know, reading order. But yeah, I think some people still ask me about those parts, A, just out of a force of habit, but then also maybe just as a way of double checking. Because the people they might normally ask might be busy with other things, or whatever. Okay, so keep in mind I cannot go this way just yet, so there are actually still only 2 paths, 2 options. So a 5 in this case would take me up to this dead end here. In which case we'll be back to really only having 1 option, at least for a moment. Yeah, my general approach with what's happening at work is just like, all right, I'm gonna do what I can, and you know, once things change, maybe I'll consider changing my approach. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna try and balance out what I think needs to be done until I'm told otherwise. Now, on the plus side, today we did get a few specific parts that we were waiting on for a number of different, you know, assembly jobs. Now, honestly, if there's maybe just like a handful of other, you know, small component parts that, like, the bulk of things are waiting on. So if we can get those in anytime soon, we might kind of be back to normal-ish. It's just kind of, in the meantime, people are almost going a little stir-crazy, you might call it, from lack of ability to make progress on things. Alright. I think I'm going to reduce the amount of talking that I'm doing now. My throat's maybe just a tiny bit sore at the moment, so I'll just take it easy on my throat there. Ooh, boss room. But where do the dice say that we're going? Okay, we're going to the boss room. So yeah, especially for these rooms, that's when I tend to use the lanterns. Because then, like, the rewards that show there will essentially be doubled. Other than the, like, keystone thing, because there's no sense in having more than one of those. those don't carry over between weeks. Boom. Alright, so now that we got the keystone, this path is open. We still have two options. Okay. Option number 2 takes us not through the gate. That's what they're called, gates. That's you get the keystones to open the gates. For a second, my brain wanted to say door instead of gate. Not the worst term to use there, I guess. But whatever. Yeah, like I said, battle's going very quickly. Alright, still have two options. This room here or this one. Another 2. Okay. Looks like we're doing this room. Which, you know, at the very least, there's a bit of an extra reward for this, rather than just being a pure dead end with no benefit. Token of Orpheus, okay. I had one of those kind of rooms in last week's Underspire that actually gave me 3 more torches. Of course, torches are the things that you use to do the battles. Kind of like how you might have hearts in some mobile games or energy or whatever that let you do things within that particular game. In this case, pretty much each event within Gems of War has its own kind of energy currency thing. Yeah, fine, I guess I'll attack like that. Looks like we are gonna just keep following this path for a little while. At the rate this is going, we might not even use up a whole hour on the Underspire here. For the record, I definitely don't need to do all the available 4 and 5 matches before I end the battle, but it does get you more gold in the game, which is always useful to have. So it's like, if I'm able to spot that, I'm kind of thinking to myself, why not? Unless it so happens that I've already maxed out how much gold I can get from the battle. Okay. We have 2 options again. Randomness says 5, which will be this one. Man. Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards just doing 1 hour of chill game slash discussion time. But do not worry, I will still do, the requested exercise before ending the stream. Okay, still 2 options. Anything odd will give us this, anything even will give us that. Even. Okay. Man. I'm like, sorry about all the yawning, but it's not like I'm doing it intentionally. Okay. Odds. Evens. Which one will it be? 2. Was the slash in there intentional? I'm guessing not. Yeah, okay, I figured.
Mana surge. Mana surge. Mana surge.
Oh. Okay, we're getting into some battles where even just this attack isn't quite enough. Quite enough to, wipe out the whole enemy team in one shot. Alrighty. Odds this time. So we're, at least not for the moment, branching out into more paths. Although once we head the other direction, that will be the case, as long as we don't, like, get all the way to the end of this one beforehand. Okay. Still odds. Still evens. Okay. Number 3. So we continue along here. I guess I'll do that. It matched 2 colors, even though I didn't really use both colors. Oh, there was a 4 match there. Whoopsie. And I can't even blame the tiredness, because I'll do that sometimes even when I'm not tired, just because I'm trying to go quickly. Okay, so we got a dead-end reward room, or place that'll give us branching paths. Okay, dead-end reward room it is. We are not exactly making much progress in the Underspire. But oh well, things happen. Okay, let's see what we get here. 3 torches. More battles. But we only got one option right now. Yeah. Oh, and in case anyone hasn't picked up on it yet, these lightning gems will just automatically destroy whatever column that they're in when they are exploded, destroyed, matched, or otherwise triggered. There are also blue lightning gems that destroy rows instead of columns, but none of my current troops make those. Okay. Looks like we're going up. I can't say I know why I'm so tired. Because, like, I don't think I've been lacking sleep that much for that to entirely be the reason. Okay. Now we can go further up or down this way by the gate. Tiredness just sometimes hits. Yeah, I mean, it really just kind of does sometimes. I mean, I'm sure technically speaking, there's always some kind of reason for it. But the reason isn't always so obvious. Yeah. Resting up tonight is a good idea in part because I want to be on my A game when I try and take on Act 4 of Slay the Spire tomorrow. Oh shoot, I just went to the next battle and didn't even wait for the randomness to kick in. Oops. See what I mean? When I'm tired, I'm not on my A game. I just do things without even thinking sometimes. Okay, so yeah. So I guess the next battle will go back the other way and like even if number 2 wouldn't necessarily be the result that, well, yeah, so it really should have been just continue down this way. We'll ignore these two for the moment. See, okay. Now, because these lightning gems destroy columns, matching them horizontally allows you to actually get more out of them. Because if you match them vertically, they're just destroying the same column. Okay. Still can't go that way yet because we don't have the key, so this would be the next room. Yeah, I kind of had a feeling that would backfire. Oh well.
Mana surge. Mana surge.
Okay, also, I really should move this a little further this way. The microphone stand was kind of blocking the corner of the screen from my view. Specifically, the lower left corner.
Mana surge.
Okay, so still would have followed this path.
Mana surge.
But even after this, I guess we're still, for the time being, gonna act like there was only one option. Going up further. So, like, instead of these two options being here, it was this room still. So, 3 would have actually taken us down this way. Because, again, assuming there would have only been this room here as the upward option, this would be number 3.
Mana surge. Mana surge. Surge. Mana surge.
I totally just thought of a random question for the Discord server for the week. And it relates to my tiredness of all things. Or it came to mind because of my tiredness, we'll say. Okay, so this would be number 2. Yeah. They Okay, so even though Ketros here is webbed, because of the boost ratio not really being affected by that status, I could still do this and it'll deal tons of damage. Another 2. So still along this path.
Mana surge.
Oh, man. As a reminder, we are technically also saying that we have one more torch than we do till the error fixes. Well, this is kind of the last torch that I have. This is almost like one of the situations we run into at work, where sometimes people will, like, pre-assign a component to a job before it ever even actually gets moved. Or the flip side of that, sometimes a part gets moved for use, but it doesn't get taken out of inventory until the job's complete. So we would have kept going this way, but I mean, I could spend 50 gems to buy 5 more torches. That's not necessarily a steep price to pay. Alright, as punishment for me not following the rules, I will spend the 50 gems. Yeah, so I think the first 5 cost 50... The first 5 for each day cost 50 gems. And then the next 5 cost 100, and then the next 5 after that probably cost 150 or maybe even 200. But, okay, so we continue. And it was another 2. So still following this path. I still don't think the whole rest of the hour is going to be in the Underspire here, but that'll at least go through more of it. Okay. 5. Still would have us go this way. But yeah, that'll essentially replace this path with the one back here by the gate. And because it's a boss room, I'm going to use one of my lanterns. I don't like to use lanterns on any of the regular rooms, though. Ah, okay. Finally, a 1 has been rolled. So I guess after this battle, we can just roll again and proceed as we would with all active rooms actually in play. Okay. So we currently have 4 different options. We got the 2 up here, and then this one, and then this one. Alright. Survey says 3 of those paths also. Yeah, so this one's a split. I definitely saw that's a split. This one, oh yeah, that's a split too. So, with 4 options, 5 would lead us back to the top. To one of our splits. Ugh. Pardon me. Now, I guess if we wanted to, we could do the journey thing for a little bit after this. I do still have a few more of those battles that I could do. And possibly, you know, randomly choose our paths. Oh, hey, I leveled up. I think I tend to use green a little bit more than yellow, so we'll go with Nature Mastery. Oh, okay, well, those are dead ends right there. But at least they have rewards if we hit them. So now we've got 5 options. Yeah, the mail that I got was just like the level up reward thing. Gives me like, I want to say 100 glory and an event key or something like that. Yep. For reaching a level beyond 1000. I am well beyond level 1000 at this point. Okay, anyway. Number 1. Really, in my personal opinion, I think all of the dead ends should have some kind of reward. Because otherwise, like, who would even go there by choice? Like, if we're randomizing things, as we're actually doing right now, yes, then somebody might stumble across that. But otherwise, like, what would be the point? Unless you're such a low level in the game that doing the lower level battles is all you can manage. Okay, so 1, 2, option 3 would be this room. And we have another split. At least one of which is guaranteed to continue further on its own path. This is quite an interesting setup here. I'm like, how do I want to handle one? Like, how do I want to handle this move? Yeah. And then I could do that, and that, and that. Okay. That was alright, I'll take that. No, I mean, actually, that was pretty good. Being able to do all that in one move. I could have had a 4 match up at the top right before I did that. Oh well. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options now. That one extends a bit further. This one branches. Number 3 would be this one. Do this, make a 4 match there. Do that, do that. 1 enemy down already. Do that, and win. Okay. We're out of torches again. And yeah. I think that'll do it for the Underspire. So then, like I said, we could do the journey event and just kind of like have our pick of either 2 or 3 paths. There is also the dungeon, but that's just kind of the, like, this whole thing. I guess we could do a random choice for which one of these doors I open. Oh, you're talking delve stuff. Yeah, okay. Are we gonna randomly choose our delve? Like, which area that we're delving in? $60. Well, you just roll like a D100 there or something? So 1, 2... I will exclude any of these areas that are at the max. Because there's really not much point in doing those. And 2,500 is the max, by the way. As you, like, get up to that point, there are different rewards available. But after that, there's not really much you gain from it. Still include them and then skip over if they're the result. Okay, fair enough. How many factions are there again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I know I'm not exactly following rating order, but kind of close. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 8, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Okay. $38 total locations. So 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 1, 30, 29, 28. 27, 26, 25, 24, and then I guess it would be 23, 22. But that's already maxed out, so I guess we'll do this one instead. Because I was working my way backwards. Okay. Fell Roost, eh? So, generally speaking, the best thing to do for a delve to actually, like, gain more of these points and get as many of the rewards as possible is to try and do it with a team purely from that faction. But yeah. Because we're randomizing things, that's not necessarily going to happen. So, we are limited to colors yellow and purple, but that is it. I could keep the sorting alphabetical, or I could do my usual order by base rarity. Either way, the number of potential options is 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, Holy cow, this is going to be a lot. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 56, 57, 59, 60, and we're still in the E's. 70, 71, 72, 73, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. So we're at 400 total options already. 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 120, 21, 22, 23, 24, 30, 31, 32, 40, 41, 50, 60, 70, 80, 60, 70, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 200. 4 times 200. But we're not done yet. 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, 206, 207, 208, 209, 210, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 39. Yep. Okay. 238. 4 times 238 plus that many. You just decide to go ahead and roll. I like, what was your range that you used there, Seth? I'm just curious. So yes, that is the range of options. Did a D800, which is no, that is not enough. D1000 would do it. Or sure, 955 if you want to be more precise. Could you imagine an actual die with that many sides? Good grief. Okay. Just because I'm closer to the bottom of the list, I'm going to get number 945 first. Hope that's alright. So, this is 955. 54, 53, 52, 51, 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, 45. Okay. So there's number 945. Okay. So 72 is the nearest multiple of 4. And that's what, 27? No, 28. Yeah, 28 times. Oh, yeah, true. Okay, fine. 76 is 29, yeah. So, row number 29. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. This one. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, 19, not 29. Duh. What am I thinking? I'm tired. That's what I'm thinking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This one. Okay, and then 118. So that's 80 right there. 84, 88, 92, 96, 100. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one. Or wait, yeah. This one. Okay, well, now I've got myself all mixed up. Okay, double checking myself here. So 30 rows in, and then go 2 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so this is row 30. 2 to the left. Chaos Hound. Okay. And then I guess... And then I guess we get to a weapon option. Or, okay, so how are we treating the final open spot there? Are we putting a weapon in the final open spot? 7, 8, 9, 10. 30, 34, 35, 36, 38, 39, 44, 1, 42, 43, 50, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 80, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150. Okay. So 151 rows plus 1. I don't think those are the actual numbers there. I think that's overall with no limitations. Oh, so 605 is what it says there. I always assumed that was just how many I had unlocked. But yeah, the troops are off. That's... Now I'm all kind of confused as to what that says. Or why that says what it says. Anyway. Okay. So, 126. Which means... we'll go down 32 rows and then 2 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 30, 31, 32, and then 2 to the left. I don't think I have any undead allies in here. But hey, at least it'll... Oh. Well, at least it does 42 damage.
My blade is ready.
Okay. Yeah, now for the banner. By the way, the hour is almost over. Now the banners should be accurate. There really that many? 85? Jeez. Okay, yep, that's definitely accurate. 85 banners. $67, okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 50, 67. So that banner. Would I like a change on a hero? At this point, I'm just going to roll with it because... oh, geez. There's also a class to select. Which, does it say how many classes there are? No. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Looks like there are 38 classes. Troops are all leveled up. Okay. At least I didn't have to scroll through a bunch of stuff to pick the class. Okay. Well, there we go. It gets no inherent team bonuses for having similar troops or anything like that. Well, this ought to be fun. I say sarcastically, of course. Nope, at this point, I'm just gonna roll with it.
Mana surge.
Because I don't got time to mess around with anything else. For yellow to purple, create 2 more purple gems for each enemy with a status effect. Sure.
Mana surge.
Yeah, ads will be coming in a minute, according to what I see on Twitch. Uh, 7 to 10 skulls, or that many doom skulls, or summon a chaos hound. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing this for a bit. That'll give me an extra turn. And then I can do this again. Okay, now I'll do this one. And it tried to summon things.
Mana surge. Mana surge.
Alright, any second now we will have ads coming in which case I'll need to... Well, maybe once I'm done with this battle, then I'll get to the next exercise and
Mana surge.
leave things at that. Okay, ads are rolling.
Mana surge.
You know what? I don't need to wait all the way until this battle's done. I can just, move myself around for the exercise now. Okay. Yep. So, 50 seconds of planking. Need my phone with me, so I have a timer. Especially one that's readily available. Okay. And Seth says he's back. Twitch says there's still about 5 seconds left of ads. Okay. Might as well set myself up though. Okay. Yep. And starting now. So, one thing I will say is that today was probably about the first kind of cooler day. Well, especially in the morning that we've had since summer started, pretty much. So, I almost wonder if the whole changing seasons thing has got me feeling a little out of whack today. But, anyway. Yeah. Sometimes you're just tired, though. And sometimes I am done with my planking time. Okay. Alright. So I'm definitely going to finish this battle before the end of the stream. I'm
Mana surge.
not going to just leave that on a cliffhanger for y'all. Well, the charming part of that doesn't really do me any good, but at least I still get to match gems from it. Unpin the planking message. Okay, now if we don't randomize where we're going here, I can just take a real short path to the end there. But the next battle is definitely predetermined.
Mana surge. Mana surge. Mana surge. Mana surge.
Yeah, as long as I try and go fairly quickly through these battles, I guess I'm still good for doing the rest of this. Now which one of my things? You know what? Boom! Direct damage be gone. But you see, the problem is if I lose any of my troops throughout this delve, they stay gone for the whole delve. Again, it keeps trying to do the thing that can't be done. At least right now. Okay, you know what? Charm. And then I'll do this. That gives me an extra turn. Okay. Got a few extra turns rolling here. Definitely like that. Well, there goes one of my troops. Although, now if the Chaos Hound tries to summon another Chaos Hound, it'll be able to do that.
Mana surge.
I'm like, but I kind of want to make sure I get all of my 4 and 5 moves off the board before attempting that. And of course, now it makes the skulls. That's exactly how I expected it to work, because this game gives me terrible luck, I think. Okay. How about now? Hey, there we go. It summoned another Chaos Hound. So at least I have a troop in that slot. Six. Okay, we're going here. Two Chaos Hounds means twice the chaos. And twice the hounds. Really would have been more appropriate if, you know, I made some skulls when I was saying twice the chaos, and then, you know, would have actually... Oh, well. I would say, you know, I'm tired when I try and turn real simple things like that into a joke, but no, sometimes I just do that anyway. I am getting so many skull matches, which isn't the worst thing. Better than the enemy getting them, but also, like, not doing much for me in the mana department.
Mana surge. Mana surge.
I'm also surprised. Well, actually, maybe that death mark that I had on the previous enemy actually did work. And I just wasn't paying attention to it. Because I don't think there's much of anything else that could have caused it to die like that. Like, I don't think it was burned or poisoned or any other thing that deals damage in between turns. Yeah, I can't say that exactly helped me much. There was a skull match down at the bottom. Oh well. Sure, we'll match green. Another Chaos Hound, please? No? Jeez. Ugh. I might not complete this delve. Okay, still got 3 options. Essentially, number 1. All future enemies are sturdy, meaning they're immune to poison. None of my troops deal poison, so that's not really an issue. But who knows if I'm actually going to be able to complete this battle. Especially if I get set up like that. How about this time? Okay. At least some of those skulls connected. Still no more Chaos Hounds. I kept trying to do that to get more Chaos Hounds, and it just wound up making more skulls. Now the only one that's left is my hero. Man, I'm just remembering, like, duh, you can't trade any troops around when you're in the middle of a delve. Or, like, you can't... Once you do the first battle, you can't make any changes to your team, really. 3. Okay. So now we're headed... Now that we're down to just my hero, we're headed straight to the final room. Alright. How heroic will I be? So far it's not looking very promising. Oh, although, okay, first enemy's currently entangled, so they're not even going to deal any skull damage right now. That enemy at the bottom is arguably the most dangerous, because it can summon a thing that summons things, potentially. And it doesn't necessarily deal the most damage to an individual troop or hero, but like against a whole team, it does the most because of the splash damage. Alright, well, there's one gone from the enemy team, but again, a couple of these things can spawn others, so I do agree that it seems at this rate I at least have a chance. That's not great. Taking that attack like I did. Did I? I think my hero just dodged that one. Is that even a thing that my hero has as an ability or something? Oh yeah, agile. 20% chance to dodge skull damage. Sweet. That doesn't mean I'm okay with the enemy getting more attacks on me.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Because I didn't want to set them up for that match right there. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ditch this. I'm gonna get rid of that troop because that's the basic spawner that this one can potentially spawn. Holy cow. The number of skull matches I got in one just cascade there was kind of insane. But, yeah. That's all it took. If only that last one didn't inherently spawn another egg upon its death. Okay, well, that was a thing. But, it's actually not really any progress. Aside from getting a little bit of gold and some stuff like that, but... still. Not bad. All things considered. Like, that was honestly kind of a trash team. Yeah. As stated early on, I'd be tired. So, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Plus, I really should get a shower before I go to bed. That'll take a little extra time in my nightly pre-bed preparations. Okay. So, thanks for watching the stream, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Oh yeah, totally forgot at the top of the stream to give a quick thanks to the only person that followed in between live streams. It goes by Song of Eddie. Who actually just followed on Twitch yesterday. So yes, tomorrow the plan is attempting Act 4 in Slay the Spire. If I succeed, then great. That's probably all that I'm going to do as far as any recorded Slay the Spire playthroughs. If I fail, then I'll just have to try again and pick it up some other time. Now, the backup plan to fill in other remaining roughly 3-hour stream time after that would probably be... See, I just did this today. Don't feel like streaming Gems of War 2 days in a row. So maybe it'll be Power Wash Simulator. Or, true, customs or dailies are also an option. Alright, so, I'm gonna figure out somebody to raid on Twitch. But otherwise, that's pretty much gonna do it from me. Can do daily till I roll in. If it wins, then we can maybe roll a custom. Yeah. See, now, as I recall, it hasn't been that long since we raided Jate. Aki and Fam playing Final Fantasy 14, supposedly. We'll catch the first minutes, then be back at around 2:30. Oh, okay. So it looks like Aki and Fam are actually doing a sort of collab thing with a couple of others. I might actually... See, one of the ones they're collabing with right now is Chronicle. Formerly Empress Chronicle, now goes by Chronicle of the Stars. At least I think that's the same person. So I think that might be who I actually raid, is Chronicle instead. Next Thursday, I mean, obviously there's the Bible study continuation. 2nd Chronicles 25 and 26. And then I'm not 100% sure what I'll do. I mean, obviously, if I don't end up clearing Act 4 and Slay the Spire tomorrow, then it'll probably be trying to do more of that kind of stuff, trying to get back to the point at which I potentially fail. But if that's not the case, then I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I guess I could try out Hades after the Bible study next week. Not every playthrough I do has to be a blind one, you know? Not every playthrough I record, I should say, has to be a blind one. Haunted House for Power Wash. Yeah, that's true. Especially if we're filling tomorrow with, like, dailies and customs in Slay the Spire. So, it'll be one of those things. So, Bible study and then either Power Wash or Hades, I guess. Alright. So, there's the plan. Or more Slay the Spire. So, those are the potential plans. And that's all I've got for y'all. Alright. Raid is in progress on Twitch. That's going to do it from me. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I will see you soon for another stream. Feel free to check out YouTube videos in between streams. And should be links somewhere for like Discord server and other stuff like that. But yeah. Until the next time I see y'all, stay cool, everybody.